Coming up next, we have a panel discussion on the topic artificial intelligence, investment trends, and industry uses. Artificial intelligence is reaching a turning point. How can businesses use it to their advantage as they compete and succeed? To answer this question and many more, we have aligned a pool of subject experts in our panel discussion. Keep those claps going and flowing as we welcome them all to the stage. Up first, we have Madhumita Bhattacharyya. She is the founder and CEO of Wisdom AI. We have Ava Agapaki, the AI assistant professor and co-founder at University of Florida TENET Twin. Then next we have Kanad Bahalkar, the chief product officer at Potion, and John Kim, the CIO Seguente. And joining the panel is also Milan Dordevic, the MBA and PMP Director of Product Development at Proctorio. As our panelist and our moderator, we have Dr. Raffaele Luca Amalfi, the CEO and co-founder of Seguente. Please welcome them all to the stage.
Welcome. So this is the panel called Artificial Intelligence Investment Trend and E-Industry Uses. My name is Raffaele Luca Amalfi. I'm the CEO of Seguente. And basically a little bit of housekeeping and then we can start. So the panel will last for 50 minutes. So we will make sure that we have enough time to all the panelists to go through their topic of interest. And as we go through the discussion, I will also try to pause a little bit and see if the audience has any questions so we can make the discussion a little bit more on the dynamic side. So I will just say a few words about my company, Seguente. So what we basically do, we work on the ICT domain, and we would like to green data centers. So the way we do that, you know that compute is increasing, is reaching a very high level of compute. If we just look at the amount of CPUs and GPUs they packed into those servers, really there is a lot of thermal dissipation and energy management that needs to be done. So what we do at Seguente is really we combine hardware technology with the software services that basically use AI engine to be able to decide what compute needs to do. So this is myself in very short, and I would like just to ask each individual panel to introduce themselves, and then we can go through the discussion. Go first.
Thanks for the quick intro, Luca. Hi, everybody. I'm Kanad. I am the Chief Product Officer at Potion, and we have built an AI that can make videos for salespeople with their own face and voice, and it's super fun. You can check us out on sendpotion.com.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Madhumita Bhattacharyya, and I'm the founder and CEO of Wisdom.ai, an all AI integrated platform that actually has data management capabilities. AI model bank and a visualization capability purely focused towards the SMB sector, enabling them for data and AI driven decision making. So, you know, very excited to be part of this panel. Thank you.
I'm Eva Agapaki. And one of the founders of software that generates the. Hi, my name is John Kim. I'm a Chief Innovation Officer at Seguente, and also co-founder along with this company. So we develop a hardware and software product with the transform the data center market into the production standard for data. Currently we're using a similar amount of water.
Hi, everybody. My name is Milan Dordevic. I'm Director of Product Development Innovation at Proctorio. It's an AI online proctoring platform focused on keeping integrity of the exams and tests. I'm also Board Director of Project Management Institute Finnish chapter and mentor for the ventures at SeedSpot Accelerator in Finnish focused on the EdTech, SaaS, and AI.
Great, many thanks. So I guess to kickstart, I would like to ask Madhumita here to give an overview a little bit of how is the adoption of AI across multiple industries
Mhm.
and what are the challenges that we are facing so far.
Yeah. So, very recently, I wouldn't say just before COVID, in fact, around 2019, I was part of a survey that, along with ESI Thought Lab and my previous company, Activity, and we did a global survey reaching out to 500 CXO level folks and then almost over 20 countries, and to understand the adoption of AI and what the global trend has been. So what was interesting and what we found is that the fact that the large and the very large companies, they do have the capacity or the budget to go ahead and invest in AI-driven decision making, or at least experiment, with the type of different softwares that are there in the market, the expensive data scientists and the data engineers that you need to hire, and then again, an SI partner that you need to bring in to integrate all the disparate softwares so that they can talk to each other. The output of one software is the input of the other. So, we saw that. But, when it came to small and medium businesses, anything which is less than $1.5 billion, they were so skeptic. Their investment in the AI space is significantly less. They were very, very skeptic, predominantly of few factors. One, which is, they're very uncertain about the ROI. What exactly are we going to invest versus what exactly are we going to get in return? They're skeptic about whether we have the right data. Do we have the right people, or do we need to hire data scientists and data engineers, and they're so expensive in the market? So, and now that we do not have any of this, do we even know which AI application would be the right one for us? So there were so many uncertainties, and a lot of them, when we were talking to the decision makers, they were like, oh, let the competitor do it, and then let me just follow suit. Let me see how they perform and what is the benefit that they are getting out of it. And that has been, across. Even though AI adoption geographically, if I look at it, is a lot more, I would say it is much higher in the APAC region compared to EMEA as well as North America. But still, even, globally, this has been the trend that the small and medium businesses are struggling. They are still trying to understand which one of the innumerable point solutions that are there in the market is the right one for them. And then what type of people they need to hire. So interesting, in the oil and gas industry, I was talking to multiple CIOs, CTOs, and one of them told me that they are based out of Houston. He said, Madhu, after he joined this company, he wanted to make it data, AI, analytics driven. And he hired the right people. He brought in multiple point solutions. And then he tried to kind of, he said, I did save money and I did save, say, for example, 20,000. I'm just giving a number, but I spent 20,000 at the same time. So they were looking for, solutions that are all encompassing, where they can actually have their data. There's something else in the market which can actually build or go through the entire data, do the rightful business, look into the business requirements, look into the business goal, have the right AI model in place, and then give them recommendations. Nothing of that sort is there. So they are skeptic, predominantly to kind of, go ahead and adopt. So if you look at it, I would say that, going through, and very interestingly, this is something that I presented in 2019 in Wall Street Journal AI event. But come 2022, IBM has done an AI adoption index 2022, and there's a white paper available in Google online. So they also resonated the same, that people are skeptic to adopt because of the complexity of AI, because of the scarcity of people or the right talent, because they're uncertain about the ROI. And one of the key trends that they have also found is that people are looking for, a no-code to a low-code solution that can actually help them, not think about how many people do I need to hire? What is the cost that is, I'm going to kind of, what is the ROI that I'm going to get out of it? But plug and play. And then, have decision making being AI-driven, data and AI-driven decision making. I should be specific about that. Driven decision making for them. So predominantly, Luca, just to sum it up, I think, there are certain industries that are still adopting. I would say technology is one of them. financial services, healthcare is one of them as well. They're adopting AI, but if I look at it, that is mostly from a vertical perspective. But if I look at it from a horizontal perspective and just categorize, companies based on the revenue that they generate, I think small and medium businesses are still struggling. And they are out there not trying to experiment. They're still fine with assumptions, hunches, somebody who has been working the organization for many years, and they kind of come up with, this is how we need to go ahead with, and that's what they do. And whereas I think, the large and the very large ones are experimenting with AI adoption. So that's kind of,
Many thanks.
yeah.
So related to this topic also, I would like to ask John Kim here, because AI is taking place a lot in the ICT market. And since we are talking about the adoption of AI and what are the main challenges, so I would like to ask his take on where we are on the ICT market and how AI actually could help the development of new data centers.
So I will mainly talk about the data center market within the ICT industry. So as I mentioned earlier, thermodynamically speaking, the computer chips are incredibly inefficient. So if you add 100 watts of energy to the computer chips, you would actually generate 99.999 watts of thermal energy that you have to remove. So this is one of the biggest challenge, what we call a thermal challenge in the ICT market, in particular in the data center. So we're trying to deploy some AI smart algorithms in the cooling system to actually optimize the energy usage. So for example, conventional data centers deploy basically fan-based cooling method, but all these fans could be further optimized in such a way that the airflow can be more efficient. So right now, currently in the United States, about 2% of the entire energy is used for running data centers. And if we could actually improve by a fraction of percent, that will translate to an enormous amount of energy savings. And also related to that, we are using a criminal amount of water for cooling data centers. And so if we could also deploy AI algorithms to further optimize the overall system, that will be bringing a huge economical benefits. And I'm sure Luca Amalfi here, who is moderating the topic, is a world-leading expert, so he could probably add in a few more points to this topic.
Okay, many thanks. I have my mic, so I can stand here. So as John mentioned, the ICT market, the data centers, they are growing capacity. And the idea that we see that to be able to basically cool those chips, air cooling is not efficient anymore. So we are talking about flowing liquid into those servers. And then the liquid is taking the heat from the CPUs, GPUs, and then you remove these all the way outside of the data centers. What we can see with AI and is very promising, and I will ask some question to the panelists, that normally when you have a new energy management system, so you need to be able to track what the liquid is doing inside the cooling system. In most of the conventional system, you even have a liquid in phase change, which means the coexisting of liquid and vapor phase. And we believe that the AI actually can be used to monitor and to track the evolution of the vapor and liquid in the cooling system. This is extremely important because the user, when they buy their hardware and they run data centers, they have to know exactly how the cooling system is behaving. We also call the health of the cooling systems. And we developed with a non-intrusive measurement, a way to actually track liquid and vapor slug and plug into the chamber, basically with an accuracy which is less than 5% compared to the real data. So AI is going fast. It's not just inside the servers, it's also expanding at the room level, which means when you have combined liquid cooling infrastructure and air-based cooling, which means dry cooler, condenser, and so on, all these, they need to be turned on and off depending on the load. And actually AI will allow to basically move the functionality in the operation to the next steps. So we need very little supervision by humans to be able to say to that machine what needs to be done, because AI has the capability to do so. Let me just ask Eva a quick question, because we saw that after the pandemic, we had like a huge spike in the data usage. Any thoughts about that, and also any investment that you see that new startup actually can benefit from that?
Hope you can hear me now. So during the pandemic, we all experienced like the new trends of remote work. So based on what I've seen and also a lot of research that has been done in this space, it's remote working conditions that need to be monitored in a way that we as humans can feel like, for example, in a space that we can interact with each other. So there are two big trends that I've seen in the past years emerging, digital twins and metaverse. So for the first one, from my own experiences and for the use cases that I've seen in industry evolving over these years, is that we need to be able to create this digital world where we would be able to monitor with predictive maintenance and data analytics to understand how the infrastructure corresponds to any type of, like, for example, disasters and any other human interventions. So this line of work has evolved in the infrastructure domain, and especially with these investments like the infrastructure bill that we saw in the last year, to become like a 300 billion industry by 2030, based on one of the Gartner research reports. And regarding the new conditions of work, as well as other trends that emerge, like, for example, social networks and other industries, like marketing industries, we see all these work being done in the metaverse, which is, I would like to add, like the initial cost of investment will be initially very high. So we need to understand, like, what are the metrics? What are some small, like, pilot use cases that can unlock that potential so that we minimize that cost and we feel more confident to invest there? So based on, like, to summarize the points, these two big trends that I've seen becoming very evident in any type of industry, like digital twins, which originated originally in the aerospace industry by NASA, and now has emerged in so many other fields, like even healthcare, like imagine the hospital of the future. So I've seen these coming as an outcome of the pandemic. So it has been, I would say, a very prosperous space to invest, especially for early stage ideas these days in these concepts.
Thanks. I'll just want to pause here and see if the audience has any comments, any question. Okay. Yes, please. Milan, you can take this question.
All right. Yes.
Your
So
name and affiliation. Can you say your name and affiliation?
oh, sure. Yes. Matthew Lindbergh Work. I'm a technologist, and I was startled to hear you talking about liquid cooling for applications for data storage and processing for artificial intelligence systems. Do you ever come across the science fiction implications? Because this has been often science fiction authors predict what actual technology is going to come across. I have come across science fiction authors describing artificial intelligence systems with massive data and power usage. Has that occurred to any of you?
Maybe, I guess, John, you can go first a little bit, and then Milan, if you'd like to.
Unlike a lot of people's perception, liquid cooling has been around for many decades, and in fact, it was the first form of cooling. It goes back to maybe 1980s from IBM's Carrier computer, which basically you immerse entire IT equipment in a dielectric fluid, and also you could just walk by the street and you could see all the transformers hanging on the utility poles, and you have like an oil-based immersion cooling, if you will. So, I mean, it's been around for many decades. And now that we're hitting this inflection point where consuming a lot of energy for fueling basically all the AI engines that we need to run our digital society, right? So we're at a point where the air-based cooling just cannot cool anymore because of the powerful chips So I think we're in this stage where it's just inevitable, and we need to switch over from air-based cooling system to a liquid-based cooling system. And to your point, I actually am not quite familiar with the science fiction part of your question, so I don't know if anyone could actually.
I will follow up.
Okay, so I will add a couple of things here. It's not completely related to science fiction, but it's related to real usage of the cooling system. So while I was leading the software development teams and PMO in a BMW in Europe for development of self-autonomous car, we were definitely using AI for every single segment of it, for the detecting the trajectory of the moving the objects, using radar and lidar and everything else, and we need high computing power for that. So all those chips that we used, we found a place where to store them in a car, because you need to have 5 passengers or one driver and 4 passengers, or to the level 5 autonomous driving, you will have 5 passengers in a car. So you need to fill somewhere and to find a space for all those computers and everything else. But the biggest issue for us was cooling system. So we found that one with a multiple companies consortium and what I see here now is that AI is moving forward the other industries, like starting the cooling system industry and industries that can help there, how to process that, consuming the power, the energy that is used, because those are kilowatts of the power used in a car for running the hundreds of the computers and hundreds of chips supporting all the algorithms for the car to be autonomous. So the complete system was a cooling system, and it was a full trunk of the car was with a cooling system. So I hope in the years that are coming, like we had computers in 70s, which were big as this room, and now we have the chip, which is small in a nanometer. So hopefully those cooling systems will also shrink during the time and will be powerful to cool down the whole system and support the processing.
I guess I can just finish with another industry trend that we see. Actually, the cooling system is shrinking with the size of the box. When I say size of the box, the size of the servers itself. And now the most recent cooling system, they even go inside the chip package. So they basically launched these unleaded CPUs and GPUs, and the channels of the chamber that is cooling is going inside to be able to minimize the contact resistance between the die and the cold plate. So what you're saying is something that was already done 10, 15 years ago already, because liquid cooling is already commercialized since a decade. And now what we see is a shift from water-based cooling to dielectric-based cooling, simply because water and electronics is an exotic combination at the end. So if you have a dielectric fluid, you can come close to the heat source, so you can really dissipate. Here, really, we are talking about a technology roadmap for semiconductor, which is huge. So about 2-3 years ago, chips, they would dissipate 250 watts. Now the recent ASICs is already 1,000 watts.
Right.
So there is no way that with the air-based cooling, you can really dissipate this amount of power. So, and software is also coming along, because people, they have to be able to read what actually the system is doing. They don't do local computation and post-processing. Normally, they pre-calibrate in their lab, so they know exactly under some set of condition, if those conditions are met, what the cooling system is actually doing. So it's a very light way of doing computation and also do the deployment of software services together with cooling systems. I hope this answers your question.
It does a little bit. Just in case anyone wants to look into it more, the Foundation series was recently put on TV by Apple TV, and Isaac Asimov had this whole world in that series of his science fiction books, where the core planet had a complete cooling system as the outer layer of the core planet. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions? Please. Oh.
Okay. And I'm introducing myself? Okay. Hi, I'm Morgan Roberts. I'm here with Taiga Smart. Nadine Chino is my boss. She'll be speaking on a different 2 panels actually in the next couple of days. But my question was more based off of how this is going to then affect the environment. Like if these cooling systems are no longer water-based, I don't even know if you could have reused them before, but we know that chips can't really be disposed in any sort of efficient way of reuse of any positive really reaction to the environment. So I was wondering if you guys could either touch on that, or maybe there is not an answer right now, but these trends and these switches, you know, although it's, you know, advances in technology, what are we really doing to the environment in that impact?
Sure, I can start to add a couple of sentences and then we can get in there. So for the current company that I'm working for, we are online proctoring solution. And as Evan mentioned, definitely during COVID, we all faced the moving education online. So our solution is completely AI powered, and it's detecting the right person in front of the camera, detecting the voice in the room, multiple voices, and keeping integrity of the exams. So using the AI, not going to the campus and removing the human labor for doing one-on-one proctoring, we calculated how much trees can be saved on this planet by using the AI. So after every exam that we proctor, and only during Corona, we proctored more than 60 million exams and provided education for 60 million students worldwide, we calculated that we saved a ton of forests. So a ton of trees are saved by using the AI. And also computing the power that they or energy they need to spend by going to campus, heating the campus, keeping all the operation running on campus is producing some energy. But having education online or wherever you are, whenever you want, and moving everything online is definitely self-sustainable and keeping the environment more safe. But I don't know, maybe someone else has some other opinion.
Yeah, because I was like, that's like really great and really beautiful in terms of energy wise, but I guess I was more so talking about the actual disposal then of, you know, once the AI runs out, or, you know, the actual production of the chips. But
so I could talk about our own technology a little bit. So we say liquid cooling, but in fact, what we were using is a low boiling point, a refrigerant. And traditionally, refrigerants are very environmentally harmful. We all know that they deplete ozone layer and things like that. But we have moved on to a next generation refrigerant, which is called a hydrofluoroolefin based refrigerant. So what's really unique about this family of chemical, actually there are two things that are unique. First, it has a very small optical cross section in the IR bands in such a way that you don't really have this global warming potential. So there is a metric that we all use in the field, which is called GWP, global warming potential. Global warming potential of 1 is equal to carbon dioxide. So whatever we're using, we have several candidate chemicals that we're testing right now. They all fall into this more or less a GWP of 1, which means that it's not any worse than carbon dioxide. Second, the interesting part of this chemical, it has more technical detail, but it has a carbon-carbon double bond, which gets cleaved by the UV radiation, which means that once it's released to the atmosphere, under sunlight, it just cleaves off to become a smaller molecule, which does not really affect the environment. So those are two things that we are very unique about the chemical that we're deploying in our system, and it's rather eco-friendly, I would say.
Do you still want me to chime in?
Is your answer? Yes.
So listen, I'm not a subject expert in this matter, but any efficiency improvements that help you gain energy momentum or energy savings actually have a positive outcome on the environment. Specifically regarding coolants, he mentioned that the refrigerators that we use have coolants that do destroy the ozone layer, but the new generations do have a fair bit of a less impact of that. The GWP 1, as you mentioned as well. So yeah, that's my only 2 cents, and I'm pretty sure Luca looped me in.
I guess something that I would like just to say, and then we can go ahead with other question, that these fluids actually they are approved by the ASHRAE, so which means they basically prove that they have 2,000 X less GWP, and they are, of course, fluid that will be used for cooling infrastructure and data centers. And these also are already applied. So in the SG goal, all the compressor and the air-based cooling at room level, they have tons of this fluid already, and they are perfectly fine. And we can follow up of also offline if you have additional question on how actually to dispose the chips and how to recycle these, but this is a very long topic, so we can follow
Yeah,
up
it
with
is. I
okay?
kind of like, yeah, switched the whole thing, but thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for your guys'
much.
input. Yeah.
Hi guys, Suresh Subbu from NFT Pedal. I'm the co-founder and board advisor for NetSet. This question is specifically about the metaverse part of it, right? I heard about it. So we are doing a project on augmented reality, creating an iShang museum. So I would like to hear your thoughts on how do you think AI can help build this more effectively?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So there are two ways where we can accelerate the creation of a metaverse environment. First of all, it's the spatial context that we want to create, particularly using like semantic understanding of the surroundings. And we've seen a lot of that, like even like you can get like your iPad and get a scan of your space and then automatically understand like what is around you without the need to create all of that from scratch. So this is one way where you can then like add context with all these generative AI models where you can create like very engaging experiences for the users who are actually part of that environment. And the second way is by having these agents that can interact in these environments. For example, a type of like virtual assistants where we've seen a lot of that could be either in a format of conversational AI, like we've seen recently a lot of trends with the language models, large language models that are disrupting this space. And they're going to be a new way where we can add all of that in a metaverse setting. So these are the two ways that I think there's a huge potential to disrupt this space.
That pretty much helps, but it's all about the user experience, right? So when you bring in, a bot or a, script in between this metaverse, pretty much we compromise that personal touch. I mean, anyway, this is virtual, but still, how do you enhance that part of that, UI and UX experience for this metaverse? So, I mean, I will start the question.
Anyone else?
Sure, I can chime in.
Okay.
So listen, I run a company called Potion, and we do have an AI that can personalize videos for you. That's a.
Can you hear him?
Can you hear me clear?
Yeah, yes.
There is a direct application of that technology in metaverse applications as well. So as the metaverse real estate applications grow and people start using it more and more, people will find ways to throw in advertisements in there somehow. And because you understand who the user is, you can personalize those advertisements depending on that segment or that specific user or their family, what have you. In that case, you can use applications like 3D DFA to reanimate 3D assets and their faces inside metaverse to speak directly to you, a la Minority Report. So that's definitely possible. That's one way to go about it for the ad tech, martech space. For your specific question, do you have any industry or any market in mind that you're thinking about personalization?
Oh, it's a museum, so anyone can come in, which means that,
There you go. Yep.
yeah.
So understanding a user archetype and basically curating the museum experience for a given user. So when I go to MoMA, I'm specifically looking for, say, a Van Gogh exhibit, as opposed to some other types of exhibits and pottery or other things that they have. A metaverse museum can actually curate that experience for me if they knew me and personalize that for me.
Thank you.
Please.
Good morning. Happy holidays. I'm Nadine Chino, and I'm really intrigued by this conversation. So my question is, do we need AI to interact with the Internet of Behaviors, right? We know a lot about the Internet of Things. We know about the Internet of Behaviors and how retail is kind of curating our experiences. So is that already utilizing AI in order to bring that to our inbox, if you will, or are there other tools that are also being used?
Thank you for the question, and happy holidays to you as well. This is a very nebulous question. All the big e-commerce companies do use AI today as we speak. So when you go on Amazon, the retail store or the actual website, they do curate your shopping experience, looking at what you've purchased in the past and what people like you have purchased in the past. They predict using machine learning models to understand like what you would do. So they are actually doing that today anyway. When you go on any social media, they're heavily using AI. When you go on Google, when you type in a search result, a query, the results you would get are very different than someone else. It's because they understand you and they have machine learning models that can predict what you would want when you fire a query. So all the companies, from e-commerce to social media, all the other ones are using machine learning today, along with other traditional software practices, full stack engineering.
So how does a consumer take that back? Go to, a decentralized DAO and say, I don't want you bombarding me with your AI algorithm. I'm going to bombard you with my own. How do we take it back?
You could technically do that, but it would hamper your own user experience dramatically. The reason you go on Google and not Bing is because you want the right results, and their AI can actually help you get the right results. If you go on Instagram, the feed is curated for you, or Facebook rather, feed is curated for you through machine learning. You can technically create another social network or a search engine with significantly lesser network effects, but the experience would not be as good. So on one hand, you can say, I want to take back my life by not giving it to the AI, but on the other hand, it is actually helping you in ways that you don't even imagine.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we do have another question from the first.
Happy holidays. I'm Helen Zhou from TENET Services. So I have a question. So we have seen companies using AI for commercial store, online store data analysis. So my question is, can we utilize AI to improve certain kind of industry? For example, if we want to promote the online sales industry-wise, 10%, compound profit for retail is pretty much good. So is it possible?
Yeah, is it possible to do what?
Is it possible to improve industry-wise the profit of a certain industry with AI technology for certain percentage profit rate? For example, 10%, right?
So yeah, I mean, I would say that provided you have the right data, AI is an algorithm. You are building an algorithm. But the algorithm does not work by itself. It works on the data. If your data is not clean, if your data is not right, the algorithm, no matter how you build it, how good the algorithm is, the output that you're going to get is not going to give you the desired benefits that you're looking for. But if you have the right data and you have the right algorithm, when I say the right algorithm, I mean that you have a business requirement and a business goal that you are solving. The algorithm actually helps you to work on the historical data, come up with predictions, and then also direct you with certain recommendations so that you can work accordingly to reach your goal, right? So to answer your question, yes, it is possible, provided you have the business requirement and the goal very well defined, provided you have the data, very, very clean data, and provided you are able to build in an algorithm without any biases. So a lot of a discussion is happening around AI, algorithmic bias, people who are building it versus people who are validating it. There is always a different, team that actually does that to reduce biases, but still there might be some inherent bias. If we are able to kind of, take care of all of this, then yes, it is possible.
So you mentioned about clean data is a prerequisite to get to the point. So in your mind, just in your definition, how to get that clean data?
So how to get the clean data? Well, that's a whole data management process that one needs to look into. It is, in fact, just before this meeting, we were actually having a discussion around that. It is, everybody wants to have the single version of truth. Everybody wants to make sure that, we have seen, I have worked in the consulting field for 22 years. I have worked with clients where one particular department comes up with a report for a particular sales forecast, some sales figures. Another department works on the same data, comes with a different number. So, it kind of, data is not standardized, not normalized. A lot of companies are struggling to really make sure that their data is correct, is streamlined. You have, no matter, it doesn't matter where you have the data, wherever you are pulling it out from, you still get the single version of truth. Now, that itself is a project. And it is a vision that the company needs to have to make sure that, I can talk about AI for bring in different data scientists, data engineers, it doesn't matter, have the best possible AI algorithm built in, but without the right data set, none of this is going to work to the benefit. So focusing on the data, making sure that you have you actually heard about the Norman experiment that MIT labs had done? So they had actually built an algorithm and they, passed two different types of data through the same algorithm. And one, which was mostly garbage. So, kind of defective data that was passed through the algorithm was trained with that data. And then the other one was like the clean data. So when the same two algorithms were actually shown two different, the same picture of flowers, one or different colors, sorry, not flowers, different colored blots, the algorithm which was trained on defective data actually identified that as blood, whereas the other one, which was trained on the clean data, looked at it and identified them as different colored blots. So it depends on the data that you are training on, and every single company has to focus on making sure that their data is clean and standardized.
So you said every company needs to make it sure clean if they want to use the AI. It means different company could have different sets, and then you need to train the AI. If there's one AI that's standard for a certain industry, you need to train this AI with different set of the data.
Different data? That's the process for any AI model that we build. So we build the data on the we build the algorithm on the train data, we test it on the test data, and then we do validation on a different set of validation data. So, and we bootstrap it. So which means that we change the test data and train data back and forth multiple times the test data multiple times to make sure that the algorithm that we have built actually works perfectly fine on every single data set that we are putting it on. So we do that. That's the practice.
So which means it's also linked a little bit on how you take data. Because, for example, in my field, what we see that at the beginning, we were considering the cooling system or the heat exchanger like a black box. So you do a certain measurement outside of the box, and then AI was not really able to predict
the measurement.
Yes. So what we actually did, we spent a lot of money, the investment was big, to go actually inside the box, to look at the flow pattern, to measure local value of temperature and pressure, and these were used as an additional input features for the AI model actually to capture the real physics.
Mhm.
So it's really depending what is your protocol and the investment and so on. But
And-
we need that clean data because only with that we could actually
Yes.
push the model.
And just to add to his and to your question as well, AI, the word artificial says that it's not real, right? So somebody is building it. So if you are able to train if you're able to build the algorithm as if you are thinking about it, you are working on it, the way you would be thinking. So it's a human bias can be inherent. So there are multiple things, right? One is the data. Two is the human bias. Machine is not writing the algorithm by itself. It is people like us, we write those algorithms. And we need to make sure that, with the change of data that is coming in. So in our terminology, we have something called model refit, which means that we have built an algorithm at a given point of time based on certain data that we are focused on. And then 6 months down the lane, 1 year, 1.5, 2 years down the lane, data might have changed. Whatever the variable that is significant today might not be significant tomorrow. A lot of things that were significant pre-COVID is not significant during COVID, and it's not significant post-COVID. So those things actually change, and we need to revisit the algorithm. We need to change the algorithm based on the different changing of the scenarios. And that's exactly where, that needs to be done to make sure that you are getting the right result. Otherwise, saying that I need a 10% gain, well, 10% is a high number, very high number. But I need a 10% profit from what I have versus what I want. Profit is doable, but we need to make sure that we have the other parameters taken care of.
Many thanks. Thank you. I have
Thank you.
to, yes. So I would like to, since we have a few minutes left, I would like just to touch base another topic. So if you have any additional question, we can take offline. It's
Okay. Okay, thank you. Happy holidays.
So this is a question to Kanad because I'm very fascinated by, the unicorn that they are coming out to the generative AI. What is your vision based on your experience and what we should expect in this coming year?
Good question. I'll try to squeeze it in a minute. How many of you have heard of ChatGPT or GPT-3? I guess so. We got about a quarter of
The
people.
panelists, okay.
Okay. So, well, panelists, all of them probably would.
Yeah.
Generative AI right now currently it's in its infancy, and some of the biggest investment trends last year, or rather this year, has been in generative AI. In small words, generative AI is anything that can produce any kind of content given a direction. So, for example, GPT-3 or ChatGPT can answer your questions, write poems and songs for you in the flavor of Eminem, if you will. It can write stories for you, or it can answer questions for you, just like Google. For the first time in the last few decades, Google probably has a real competition. Just to put that in perspective, ChatGPT garnered 5 million users in one day. And I think it took Google about a couple months. It took Netflix about a couple months too. So it's on fire right now. One step next, there are tools like Midjourney and DALL-E that create images for you just by typing in text. And there are tools like Potion, which we are building, that create videos for you just from text, video, and audio. What are those implications? So what does this mean? Knowledge work that people do today is just coding or UX design or movie editing, video editing. You can do all of that without the required skill. And that is a huge deal. You can literally just type in text and get video or image or more text as outcome. And that text could be code, that could be UX design. It could be a website for a small business. As a restaurant, you just want a website. So you just type in, hey, can I get an HTML or a fully managed WordPress website for my restaurant named XYZ? And it'll just make it for you. That eases a lot of burden on knowledge workers. And yeah, I can go on and on about it, but I see there's a minute left, so I will stop ranting.
Maybe in these last minutes, is any panelist would like to add on this important topic? Anything to share?
Yeah.
Milan.
Yeah, we'll use the last 30 seconds. or
Yes,
something
you
like
can
that.
make it.
Yeah, as he mentioned, definitely there are more and more companies not only developing the AI solution and products, but more and more companies are implementing and using those solutions, which is definitely speeding up their processes, speeding up their decision making, helping them into the sales process, helping them to development process, or any kind of digitalization of the process and automation they want to do, augmented with the AI. I think in the years that are coming, the AI is definitely moving forward at the maturity level. So we have a lot of products and solutions on the assistive level that are helping us in the decision making, pre-processing data, doing all the manual stuff for us, and helping us to make the decision. We have more and more solutions now coming to the next level or stage, which is augmented AI, which is helping us and more intelligent, where we are introducing and using machine learning, neural language processing, NLP, and everything else to add additional layer. And as Madhumita explained, with the clean data that you have, including machine learning, you are in continuous process of the training model, which will help you later based on the previous conclusions, previous decisions and actions to help you in the future to make even better decisions. And then we are coming to the final stage, which will come hopefully in the years, which is fully automated AI. This is something that everybody's scared of, I would say, not to come to the moment where the AI is sanctioned, and hopefully will not. But definitely it's moving towards completely fully automated AI.
Great, many thanks. I think we are almost done, so we can wrap up this session. I would like to take the opportunity to thank the panelists for sharing all the good insight, and also the audience for asking all the good questions. I wish you happy holidays, okay? Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone.